Let's take one more trip into Mr. C's brain. Mr. C's brain, part 3. So here's me. I'm 47. I love punk rock. I'm an English teacher. I've been married for 24 years. I have 2 kids. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. I went to all Catholic schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. In fact, I went to an all-boys Catholic high school. I put myself through college by working as a cook in a nursing home. I love to cook, and I love punk rock. I started doing stand-up comedy when I was 40 years old, and now I help run a comedy club, and I love punk rock. And you're you. So what do we have in common? Plenty, really a ton. Why? Because we're both human beings, and there are certain experiences that all human beings have. We're going to call them common human experiences. Next week, we're going to be working on presentations. All right, you'll stand up in the front of the room and you'll give your presentation to the rest of the class. It needs to be between 10 and 15 minutes long. One more note about that project: we're not doing that at all. Not at all. Nope, that's not happening. That's not happening next week. But did you feel did you get a little nervous there for a sec? Maybe a little bit? Getting nervous about speaking in front of crowds? Common human experience. And maybe you were paying close attention and you realized that, hey, didn't Mr. C just say that he's done stand-up comedy and he's a teacher? He gets nervous talking in front of crowds? Sure, absolutely. You know, I want it to go well. So I care about what I'm doing up there. So yeah, I get nervous. Yeah, of course, everyone does. Everyone does. Common human experience. Another common human experience is, unfortunately, loss. So this is my dog, Red. And just after the shutdown happened last March, we noticed that his appetite went way down. So we brought him to the vet, and that was difficult to do because of all the restrictions in place. But we finally did get him to the vet, and our vet felt some sort of mass in his abdomen. So our vet said, hey, I don't have the equipment to do an ultrasound, but we got to find out what's going on with him. So you need to find this dog an ultrasound. And again, because of all the restrictions, it took a little while to find someone who could do an ultrasound. And then when we finally found someone that can do it, we brought him in, we had it done. And unfortunately, it was a pretty advanced stomach cancer. But by then, it was getting really difficult to get him to eat anything at all. So we sadly had to say goodbye, and we put him down. And it was a tough experience. Now, I know we all have experienced some type of loss, and from some of your submissions from the tattoo Google Slide project, I am well aware that many of you have experienced loss far greater than the loss of a pet. And though I'm not trying to say that these losses are equal, experiencing loss on some level is a common human experience. And this is true between you and me and people in other parts of the state, in other parts of the country, and other parts of the world. But through these common human experiences, what we learn is there are universal truths about human beings. Here's an example. I would say this is a universal truth. Attaining a goal is sweeter after sacrifice. True story. My first job that I ever had, I washed dishes in a nursing home. This was in 1988. And I believe that my rate of pay at that time was $2.75 an hour. Yeah, I know. But by that time, I had already discovered punk rock. Did I mention that I love punk rock? I don't know if I did. And what I wanted more than anything else was a black leather jacket. And those, at the time, were about $250. Now that's in 1988 dollars. So there might be a conversion. I'm not a math guy. But I'm sure you can appreciate when your rate of pay is $275, how long is it going to be before you save up to buy a $250 jacket? I don't remember exactly how long it took, but I did it. And when I got that jacket home and put it over my shoulders and I knew it was mine, oof, it felt like an accomplishment. You know, and it's different than when you're gifted something. I earned this. And yes, I still have that jacket. And I don't plan on ever getting rid of it because it has such sentimental value. Here's another one. Universal truth about human beings. Win or lose, succeed or fail, taking the risk will result in wisdom. Here's another story. So I used to be really into running, probably too into running, or at least I was to the point where, I kind of messed up how well I took care of myself when I was running. I was running too much, and now I got an injury. And I would love to take up running again, but whenever I do, that pain it comes right back. I got into running enough that I was able to run a marathon. Actually, I ran the same marathon twice. All right, first time, it took me years to be able to train to have the endurance to complete that first marathon. I've never been particularly fast. Or I knew I wasn't going to win or anything like that, but there was a certain time that I really wanted to hit. And then marathon day came, and I ran that marathon, and 26.2 miles is far. And it turns out I needed a half an hour longer than I had anticipated to finish that race. That race took me just a shade under 5 hours. And I agree, it's not particularly fast. I never claimed to be fast. But that time did not sit with me particularly well, which was very frustrating. I mean, here is something that I spent years getting ready for. Week after week, doing my runs throughout the week, and then the weekends, the long runs as long as 20 miles. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of self-discipline. And when I finally did it, I hated the results. Hated it. So I signed up for the exact same marathon the next year, bound and determined to do better. See, I initially took the risk because there was no guarantee. You're not guaranteed a decent time in a marathon just because you want one and you put in the training. There's a risk, and I failed. I mean, I finished the race, sure, but not in a time that I was happy with. And I learned a lot from that experience. So the next year, ran the same race again. I shaved about a half an hour off my time. I would have liked to be a little bit faster, but at least finally it was a time that I felt okay about, that I could live with. It's these common human experiences, it's these universal truths that an author has to tap into in order to connect with their audience. This is why someone else's story that is so different from you and comes from the other side of the globe can still resonate with you. This is why you can create a piece of fiction and create a world and characters that are so fantastical they don't even resemble human beings, yet people can identify with the story as long as there are some universal truths revealed about human beings in that story. All right, that's about it for my spiel today. Just like yesterday, I have a celebration of knowledge waiting for you in Schoology. And just like yesterday, I look forward to the submissions of the celebration of knowledge. And we'll be working with the ideas covered in today's video with an article tomorrow. So stay tuned. And by stay tuned, I mean you can tune out after you do the celebration of knowledge, but come right back tomorrow.